You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Welcome to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. As always, I am joined by JC. We've made it, buddy.
We've made it, man.
The final frontier.
What a great season we've had.
You've enjoyed it?
I'm not going to blow our own trumpet, but it's been good, mate.
It's been good. I had a couple of weeks off injured.
You did, mate.
Yeah.
Come back in straight into it.
Straight flying back.
Shows the medical department been doing their job right.
You enjoyed it though, yeah?
I have, mate. I've loved it.
What's been your season highlight? Who do you think? Like what team? Like
what guest or what?
No. As a season, do you think?
Football.
Has it been City or?
Mate, I answered this actually on BT Sport. I loved when the whole of the football world come back together to park up this European Super League. I love that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're seeing like Arsenal fans standing next to Chelsea fans, Man City fans standing next to Man United fans and Liverpool fans, and all just going, no, we're not having it, and just really just putting them in their place, which I thought was brilliant. I'd like to see that football community coming together.
That's a really ethical thing. I mean, personally, obviously, for me, it's just been West Ham getting into Europe. But it's,
listen, sorry, mate.
Portugal, you're heading out tomorrow?
Yeah.
Champions League final?
Mate, I'm so excited. I'm going out tomorrow. We're all going out as a group, BT Sport, to do the coverage. I think it's important we're there.
Yeah.
Because it's the showpiece game of the... I mean, there's a lot of people considering, like, going to another country and, because we can do it from the studio, but I think it's right and proper that we're there too, because we need to deliver the show properly for the fans at home, because it's what a strange season, and we need to be there. So I'm going out on Thursday. My middle boy's Harry's coming out with my father-in-law, so he's going to be there. So he's so excited about that. So.
Is he a Chelsea fan?
He is, mate, yeah. I've given him options. I've got one Chelsea and one PSG.
Wow.
No West Ham yet.
Wow.
But the one who supported PSG, he's wavering on them now because he's a big Mbappe fan, the young one. And my little girl, she's not that interested, but I've taken them to West Ham, mate. I've taken them to Chelsea.
Maybe what will sway the PSG fan is when Mbappe comes to West Ham now in Europe.
That'd be amazing. Put a cheeky bid.
Right, talking about the Champions League final, and we'll get into that because this guy is the guy to talk to. He's the pedigree on this guy, Champions League wise, is next level. Won it twice, absolute G. Bundesliga winner, 2-time Champions League winner. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Owen Hargreaves. How you doing, Owen?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That is some CV, isn't it?
Mate, it's incredible.
I forget, I forget about the one in Germany you won as well. Unbelievable, Steve. So two Champions Leagues, Bundesliga. How many Premier Leagues?
I only really played the one because my knee was...
Yeah.
So I played my first season at United. We won the League Champions League. And then, to be fair, I never really played again.
Unbelievable.
That was pretty much me then. I remember we played the Champions League final against Chelsea. I mean, Joe, obviously you remember. It was like, it's one of those games where you want it to go your way, but we had an England game 3 days after, didn't we, at Wembley? Yeah. So you imagine you're all sitting around, eating together. Yeah. And some of the boys have won and some hadn't, and then, and it's such, the margins are so fine. You get to penalties. JT slips, the only one of everyone that night. Yeah. That actually slipped, for whatever reason, how he slipped or why. I mean, people forget that night it rained like crazy, didn't it,
crazy.
Joe?
The weather on that was
out of nowhere,
insane.
so maybe it got a bit slick, but it just shows you that the margins are so fine at that level.
Do you know what I would say to Owen? Because I spoke to Rio about this, because obviously with the Champions League coming up, and I said that the United boys, the behaviour when they come with the England thing, like they were so... They were brilliant, do you know what I mean? Because it was hard. Beating that stuff, going up to England thinking, I've got to look at Owen and Rio, and they just won the Champions League, and but they were brilliant.
How does it work with that, though? Because that's as an England fan, and actually weirdly, you think about the talent on both sides for Man City and for Chelsea going into this, Mount and Foden essentially could be right up against each other for that starting place. Stones. You look at number of different players.
Do you know what the difference is with this? Sorry, the difference is I spoke to Mason, right, and the broadcast was trying to sort of build up the England players, him, Foden and Mount. So they asked me to ask the question. So I asked the question to Mason, and it was genuinely not an issue. You know what I mean? But this is because this, by the time we played United, we'd had 6 years of going back and forth with them, winning titles, then winning titles, winning FA Cups, then winning FA Cups. All the same age, all the same, So the
you've been around each other forever, haven't you?
Yeah. So the rivalry
there was so
had
much
grown.
respect there, wasn't there? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it wasn't a shame that you played each other in Champions League final.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, sometimes you play somebody you don't really know as well. Maybe you can find a little flaw. That Chelsea team, you didn't really have any flaws. A bit like us. Our team was, on a day we were. We knew we could knock anybody out, but Chelsea were the same. They literally had, Didier at the top of the pitch, you had Chet, you had JT, and you were stacked. So really, when you went toe to toe, that game in itself was, we won the first half, you won the second half, didn't you? That's how it was.
There was nothing in it, the game. It was actually probably a poor game to watch for the neutral, because we did just cancel each other out. But that was the intensity of it. But I don't see this game being the same. I think the characters are different, and they're at the start of their journey of the rivalry. And it might not be Chelsea and Man City. Liverpool might come back into it next year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, also United are sort of they're United obviously massive game tonight, and United are looking like they could sort of they've got some great young players there, and I like what Ole's doing there. But we've spoken about this game before. We've spoken about a couple. So you sort of said you hated the game, you hated the build up. Like when you look at it now, for the final. Yeah. I mean, you're part of the build up now, which is mad. But what was the thing you
didn't like the build up to the?
No, I didn't like it. I knew what was on the line. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, you could stomach losing to a Barcelona or a Real Madrid, but to lose to United and your friends, it's like anything. It was hard. So, and I've said to Mason today, in my mind, I was like, right, just play the game, not the occasion. I know everything about who I'm playing against. I was playing up against Evra, played against him many, many times. Sometimes he got the better of me, sometimes got the better of him. Yeah. Right, do your job. Just play the game. And then as you're walking out and the Champions League music comes on, you walk past the trophy, didn't you? And I'm like, oh, it's the big one now. So I was like, anyway, went into the game. I don't think I had a particular. I think I was just average. It wasn't one of my best games. Nobody was outstanding. Everyone was just okay, you know what I mean? It was a weird game. And then to lose it was heartbreaking. Yeah. And little did I know I'd never get back there again. Because I'd lost 4 out of 5 semi-finals in the Champions League before that. So it was just the one that got away.
It's weird as a player. You do once you get there, you think I'm gonna be here all the time. And then sometimes you don't get back, do you? I remember for us, we trained in the stadium the night before, did a game. Obviously, at the end you do a sesh, whatever, and then at the end there's like a little game. And I remember Danny Welbeck, he just burst onto the team. Burst onto the scene, and we did this game. And Welbeck, for whatever reason, he tore somebody up, right, against us. And we almost had a punch up in the sesh before the game. Gaffer had to come in and say, "Let's calm down, save it for tomorrow." But that's how it was. The boys were so. People say like, "Are you saving it for the next day?" No, we didn't even want to lose a training game. That's how it was. So I remember the thing. I don't know if about you guys, but like people don't realize before the game. I remember the dressing room, how noisy it was. Music, did you guys always have music pounding?
Yeah, of course.
Patrice was the DJ. Music was pounding.
Well, Patrice, I thought Rio.
No, it was Patrice often. Remember at the time was that American Boy.
Yeah,
remember that
song?
That was always popular. But I remember just looking around before the game, because when I played in the Champions League final, my first year as a kid, no music, German, quiet. Serious, everybody focused.
How did you find the psychology of the two different?
I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I swear. I looked across and I thought I was in a club. Yeah. And there's a few lads like jumping.
Foreign lads couldn't get their heads around that.
But the cool thing was, the gaffer knew to let the boys. He trusted them to do their thing, And we had a lot of good senior leadership, and because we had a lot of older guys, we had Scalzi and Giggsy and Rio and Van der Sar. We had guys that had been there and done it, So they just got the feel of what it needed. So remember that first one, there was like nerves, whereas that one, it was, everybody just felt like they belonged there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Was there a matter of there with Fergie as well, I suppose, because you've got Scholes, you've got Giggs, you've got Van der Sar won it, obviously with Ajax, you won it. Do you know what I mean? Do you think he was less nervous than, say, like in your dressing room, that how did Fergie seem to you before the game? Was he more...
I think you're always going to have tension when there's something at stake. Even for Sir Alex, probably the greatest manager of all time. They're hard to win Champions Leagues. They're hard. Even for the greatest. So you realise again the margins are so fine. I won 2 on penalties. Yeah. So they can easily go the other way. Yeah. I remember even with England, we got knocked out every tournament on pens, didn't we? Yeah. And I'll never forget being in that little group of players where you take pens. And even the boys the managers and the boys on the bench, they're not even involved really with the penalty takers. It's a really like select group. Yeah. And you can feel the the energy, you know, and you can feel some people feel good about it, and you look at other people and they don't want any eye contact. With England, that pressure was there for whatever reason, maybe because of past failures, and people knew they could be the guy that could be on the front of the paper because he missed the pen. So you carried that. I think the boys sometimes carried that fear rather than seeing it as it's an opportunity to go and kick a ball in front of the whole world while everybody's watching. Because if you take the experience as a negative and you think, I could miss here, or I'm going to miss, or the keeper could save it. Whereas if you go up thinking, like Joe was a confident kid, you know, I'm going to smash it top bin and then I'm going to go have a drink with my family. It's going to be the best day ever. So I remember that Champions League final, all the negative experiences I had with England, where people missed and people had bad vibes. I remember Cristiano missed. I don't know if he was second.
It was a massive penalty, yours, because
I think he was second.
Ronaldo was third.
He killed me, he missed. And I thought, so when he's missed, I was next. I thought, oh, geez, if I miss, it's over, right? You can't miss 2 from the first 5. So when I went up there, obviously, you know, I remember, because all these boys knew me, by the way. We used to be at tournaments for about a month. We practiced pens all the time. So as I walked up, all the boys knew I was going to go top bin, right? And they were all pointing top bin at, basically, to check. So when I went up there, that's the slowest walk in history, isn't it, Joe? From the middle of the pitch to the penalty spot, it feels like it takes 25 minutes, doesn't it?
It's a hike. It's not.
And I get up there and I see checking going. I think, Jesus Christ, he's massive. He's a giant in there. Then you got the fans in behind. So I was thinking, right, I'll get up there, I'll put it top bin. And I thought, I said, they definitely told I'm going top bin. Psychology was, like, I'll just go bottom corner, other side.
Well, you change it because
that's what I was thinking about on the walk. So I'm thinking, right, I'm going top bin all day. And as I got up there, I saw him. I thought, Jesus, he looks massive in there. So then I thought, right, I'll just go bottom corner. And then as I stood over, I thought, no, not time to be experiment. Trust what you do, smash it top bin. But even in those moments, you know, you're playing with a positive thought and a negative one, you know, and because I had experienced the negativity with England in a way where the boys maybe changed their mind or got a bit doubtful. And that is how fine the margins are. It's crazy.
Because I mean, look, the one thing that we know about England is the penalty misses, the penalty, the heartbreaker penalties. And the one thing that I guess whenever I think about us growing up was the Germans were the guys who just seemed to call. Do you think that you know, I think of the 2 massive penalty shootouts I've seen you in. As someone watching you, sort of like whether that one and the England one, do you think that German background playing for someone like the Coolness, is it something there towards it?
But for sure there's something in that kind of, you know, that, but it's the way you approach it. Because I remember Ronnie missed and then I scored. And I remember then you go to the players on you're like, you boys are just there and we're there. And I could feel on people, because basically the guys...
Chelsea hadn't missed one up to you.
Exactly.
One, I think.
But the thing is, the guys that have taken one, they chill, don't they? Because they know theirs is up. Whether you can see the boys, so there's half have taken one and half haven't. And the boys that haven't, there's a bit of tension there. And when people are thinking about something, what do? They go quiet, don't they? Because they're thinking, right? So you can see on people. So I could see the boys there thinking, right? So I remember Rio was right next to me, and I said, Ree, you're going to score, man. Don't worry, you're going to score. You're going to score. I promise you, you're going to score. Because basically, the last thing you want, which I remember from them England occasions, everybody was quiet. Even though we had the best players in England, everybody was quiet because they're within themselves. So talking to someone gets them out of thinking, don't they? And you give them a bit of part of a feedback. And I remember, and it's hard because JT slips, and even though he's on the other team as opposition, but he's still somebody that you know and you connect to. And somebody wins and somebody loses, but I remember just trying to connect to the boys and say, look, you're going to do this, you know, you're going to do this, because you could easily in that moment think worst case scenario, can't you? I mean, I bet loads of everyone does.
Yeah, but it's insane you saying about this, and it's just such a weird thing I've just thrown in, but that's like when you do stand-up and you're doing like big crowds, or you're doing big like when you do the store for the first time. And that thing of like everyone's the nerves of a back, you know, in a green room of a stand-up club, like fucking always the energy's like, you know, positives, negatives, people like, you know, and then when people do that, you know, you'll see someone go out through these doors and you'll see the like tension, I've got to smash this. And then when they come through, you'll just have a raft of people who've already gigged, who are relaxed, chilled, having a beer. And then the people waiting to go on, that tension.
Yeah.
That's where my friendship with Romesh was always born through like him actually seeing that, like Romesh being a bit like you, like sort of nerves in me.
Yeah.
Would always put an arm around me and always have a chat and have a laugh.
I bet that meant so much to you. That
also,
you,
but he
never
stopped me
ever
thinking.
forget that.
Stopped me thinking about the gig. I was laughing, joking with him, and then it's like so I knew my material.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you get inside your own head, it's like, and that must be. Like, I mean, you were there with JT at that moment, and obviously, I know John. You know John. That's got to be one of the hardest things in the world, and also his affinity. Because I think there's people like, and we were talking about Mark Noble off air.
Yeah.
And we talk, when I think of Chelsea, I think of John Terry.
Yeah,
it's not just a club for John Terry.
No, he's an icon of the.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. Mate, it was like, just wanted, like, he's your mate, you just hug him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that was my thing was let him be, but just get into the changing room, right, bang, and then I can't remember what happened. I think someone just said, look, he's all quiet, obviously. Someone stood up and just said, look, lads, it weren't meant to be. Life moves on. Get showered, and that was it. There was nothing poignant said, because there's nothing that can be said.
But that's amazing to have someone that pragmatic. Like, credit to them, because that's essentially what you're talking about. It's
but Joe's right. It's like,
what can you do?
Nobody knows what to say, so you just. Because everybody just feels dreadful, And if you played, like you said, you've done gigs where you smashed it and you've had a mare.
Yeah.
And the people around you've either smashed it or you've had a mare. And even sometimes when you've seen your family after games, you can see just the eye contact alone is enough to take you down. So But I guess in a way that's part of being successful, is the fact that the margins are fine. And once you start to figure that out as a kid, it's hard, isn't it? Because you're probably not robust enough to deal with the ups and downs of it. Then as you get old, like that Champions League final I enjoyed way more because I was 26. My first one I was 20. I don't think I slept the night before.
We should talk about that though, because that first, I think as a massive football fan, I don't know about what Joe's knowledge of you at the time was, but then
I was playing with him at the time, under 21.
We were in the England under 21.
So you have this kid who comes on the scene, who's like, he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. What was it? Was it your second Champions League game you played in the final?
I remember my debut was, I think, in the first game against Helsingborg. I think that might have been the first game. I came on in like the 82nd minute or something, and I remember a bit like Romesh with you. One of the boys said to me in the dressing room after, he's like, "That's your first one, There's only one first, You'd never forget that." And I didn't even think about it, because you just think you're going to be there. So, to be fair, that was a difficult thing at a big team, was the fact that, you didn't get many opportunities, because we had internationals in every position. So I played a bit at the start, and then obviously the team was set, and then somebody got injured late. I played Frankfurt away, and I got man of the match.
Yeah.
And it was just like, timing was just perfect. And the gaffer, I remember he said to me once, even for the Champions League, I played in the semi-final.
Against Real, right?
Against Real. And I remember, I was a kid from Canada, I shouldn't even never been a professional football player, do you know what I mean? So when I went over to Germany on trial, they're like, "Who's this guy, hockey player?" So they asked me, "Do you live in an igloo and all that?" And
Didn't know Germans had banter. I quite like that one.
And I remember getting on the pitch, and they were all under 17 national players, And I remember thinking, I'm going to be out of my depth, And as a player, you just feel it, don't you? And I remember after about 5 minutes, I thought, nah, this is me, this.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I just kicked on. And I remember that game, that Real Madrid semi-final, I looked across, and there was Luis Figo there.
Yeah.
In that white kit, looked pretty good looking dude as well.
Yeah.
And I'm looking across thinking, shit, I'm in trouble here. I'm in trouble here. And obviously, he probably didn't really know me that well. Luis Figo not going to know me. He's the most expensive player in the world at the time. I remember he tried to go around me, and he probably didn't realize I was always the quickest on every team I ever played. But because I played defensive midfield, nobody really knew.
Yeah.
So obviously, Luis said, "Right, give me this little Canadian clown. I'm going to mug him off." Yeah. Right? And he tried to put it around. And I just took it off him.
Yeah.
And I thought, shit. I just took it off Luis Figo. I just ran by him.
Yeah.
And then Roberto Carlos popped up. And obviously he tried to front me, and he was quick, and I sprinted by him. It was early in the game. And I remember this light just went off in my head, like, forget these. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like that moment as a kid when I was 16 coming over from Canada, you testing, you see what level you're at. it kind of gave me a lot of confidence. And then when I jump, as a young kid, you get into the first team. We always say it's sink or swim, and it is.
Yeah.
Because the good ones, they just find a way to swim. You know, it's not just about talent. You got to enjoy the grind of it. And I remember that game changed me forever. Because I remember we got to the final, and I was still on a U-team contract at the time.
Wow.
And I came in and I got a drink. I remember I was just getting a drink, and our president at the time, who used to be like one of the best players in the world, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I was just getting a drink. He said, "Oh, well done." He said, "Tomorrow we'll give you a new contract. You outplayed your old one." And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And that's how it was. So I took that kind of, you know, the Champions League final was 2 weeks later, you know, and I took that into the game, and I was riding high. You know, they had Mendieta, Aymar, who was one of my favorite players. Remember Pablo Aymar, beautiful little player, little number 10. And I just remember walking out into the pitch with the mascot's hand. Yeah. He was shaking, like young kid, you know.
Yeah.
His dad wrote me a letter months later saying thanks because I was chatting to him. I said, "It's cool, mate. Don't worry, I'm nervous too." And we walked out onto the pitch, and I forget there was this. I think I was only 20, and there was this big banner across the whole stadium. It said in German, it said, "Today is the day to write history." Yeah. And as I walked out holding this little kid's hand, I thought, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it was cool, you know, as a young kid to play football. I was the youngest of 3 boys. I just followed my dad and my brothers around, did whatever they did. And to play, and then all of a sudden, just for fun like that, and all of a sudden then to be in a game like that, Joe, it's like, it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It does.
You'd never think you'd be there.
I think it's the most humbling thing. Yeah, but that's your 5th professional start is against Real Madrid, right? That's your. I didn't even. No, that's your 5th start and you're going up against, and like for me as a fan. You're talking that's where you go back to proper Galacticos, right? You're talking Figo, you're talking Carlos. Ronaldo be there? R9? Would he have been there?
I think they had Morientes, Raul.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Helge, I remember Helge, who's a lovely player. They had some big hitters. But you know, and that's the beautiful thing about football, you know, everybody puts like, you know, once you get out there, it's man against man.
Just going back to a little thing of like, so you were playing in the under-21s at that time with Joe, and so how...
To be fair, he and I probably had like complete opposite careers, because I should have never made it, and Joe was like, in that England under-21 team, Joe was the best player, you know, technically the most gifted. So Joe
what did you know about him when he came?
Nothing.
I knew nothing about Joe because I grew up in Canada.
Yeah, but when he came to the under-21s...
we had the team sheet. So you get called up for England under-21s.
Who the hell is this fella?
Who's this fella here? Owen Hargreaves, Bayern Munich. Who's this? And then you ask around. Oh, it's a lad from Canada, English.
Because everybody thought I was German, didn't they?
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was German. I only worked in Germany. I wasn't, you know, my mum's Welsh, my dad's English. I just ended up in Germany because a German guy saw me playing, and because he was German, his connections were there. So I remember we played in my first year at Bayern. We played in the pre-season tournament against Galatasaray, Man United, and somebody else. And we played against someone. That was my first games. Yeah. And I come on, and somebody saw the name on the back of my shirt and thought I was English. That's how I got into England under-21 team. Really? They called the FA. Really? Watching the game.
Oh, wow.
That's what happened.
So, like, this is interesting now because. So you could have played for obviously Canada. Yeah. Your mum's Canadian?
My mum's Welsh. I'm the only Canadian person
Canadian born
in the history of my whole family. So I'm actually an outcast in my own family.
So you could have played for Wales, England, Canada.
So Mark Hughes rang me up. He wanted me to play for Wales. Yeah. Because he obviously was at Bayern, you know, so he knew Bayern and stuff. Yeah. So he called me up. I said, "Look, Mark, you know, I'm just trying to like get into the first team and stuff." Canada called me up, but they had cut me when I was like 14.
They cut you?
Yeah, I didn't.
Canada, that's just...
Because I was quite little, you know, and back then football was like...
Big guys.
You had to be big dudes. So I got cut. And then basically they called me up. I was about 17. They called me up to an under-21 thing. And I said, look, I can't, you know, because I'm trying to get into the first team. I can't be away for 2 weeks at some camp. Yeah. So they said, look, if you don't come, that's it. You're never going to play again. I said, yeah, that's cool. And then obviously then I got into the first team and I started playing. So then I could have played for Germany because I'd been there long enough, I think. But I couldn't have played for Germany with the name Owen Hargreaves. You know? Like, first of all, my dad was English. So I would have played for anyone, by the way.
Your dad wouldn't have allowed Germany.
I would have taken anyone really to like Canada. I would have taken that all day. Yeah. But then I got into the first team and I started play. And then Wales rang me up and I thought, right, I'm just going to sit tight here. And then all of a sudden, I played in the Champions League final. Then England starts calling. And what do you want to do as a kid? Like, what's the one person you want to make proud in your life? Is your dad?
Yeah.
So when England rung up, I thought, because everyone kept saying, "Oh, you're gonna be a one-cat wonder. You're gonna be a one-cat
dad
wonder."
was a player, wasn't he?
Yeah, good player. It was like you, just like you.
Yeah. Well, I remember chatting to Owen's dad like at the tournaments, and like, he was so proud of him.
Yeah.
And like Owen.
Yeah, because our dads used to hang out, didn't they?
Yeah.
They used to watch the games together.
Yeah, and I remember, and he was a player. Yeah, he was telling me about it.
Yeah, he was a baller. Yeah, he was a proper baller.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I remember we were watching a tournament once. It was like some weird Confederations Cup or something. And, the game was on. It was just, we were sitting on the couch. It was on Barbados, that's right. And Henri was on it. He said to me, "I smash him." My dad there watching that thinking, "What?" I said, "That's Thierry Henry. You wouldn't stand a chance. He'd absolutely destroy you." Yeah. But that was kind of like the mindset, He thought he could play. I was thinking, "Oh, you're like 55 years old."
My old man, it's completely opposite. My man hated football, never played football, right?
Did he?
So he meant, but he was coming to watch me. I was coming back from injury and I was playing a game at, but he used to always just blag to people that he taught me everything he knew. So we're watching a game, reserve game. I was coming back from injury. I was playing, and Jimmy Hill was there for some reason. His nephew was playing, right? And he got chatting. He said, "I'm Joe's dad. Jimmy, how doing?" They got chatting about football. They said, "I'm chatting to Jimmy Hill, and I've told him now that I've taught you everything I knew, coached you and all that." And he said, and a stray ball's coming over to my dad. He's thinking, "Oh, so I can't catch it." So the ball's just, he said, "I just put my foot out, right? Put my foot out." I thought, "Please, don't." The ball hit my foot and just stopped dead there. And Jimmy Hill's gone to him, "You never lose it." That's you never lose it, son. I just passed it back. He said, "Got away with that one."
Would have sat in the car. Like, you've had your moment. That's your highlight.
He said he was just buzzing with it. He said, he'd never played. So he was.
That's mad though. That how you became. Where did that come from then?
Mate, he just like I said, we've talked about my journey.
Did you have brothers?
My younger brother, younger sister.
Yeah.
And where I lived. Now my mum's gonna kill me for saying this, right? I was feral. Yeah, Mum, you're right. I was out and I used to go and play with the older boys.
Yeah.
I just used to play with a football. Leave the house 8 in the morning. Come back at 8 at night, and then people around the flats will go to my mum and dad or friends that you should take him to a team. Mum and dad was like, "Oh, he's all right. Playing football, he's fun."
Yeah.
It got to about 10, and like people like, "You should really take him to a team." So I went, all right. And so my dad was working. My mum took me to a team, like a local team, and I was like 10, 11. Kids have played like 4 or 5 years. My boys have been playing since they're 5 now in a team. So went there, and everyone was just like, "Wow, this kid can play." You know what I mean? So bang. And within 6 months, I had every club in London after me, but I wasn't coached. So I was nearly 11. I'd only just got a pair of boots and played on grass. Everything else was playing, no advice, nothing.
Almost, we talk about the Brazilian way. Yeah. That's almost
Street
like the favelas.
It's a shame that's gone out of the game because you get kids that are unique, that just do their own thing, that go off field. Whereas now, if you watch a lot of football, you know what's going to happen.
Robots.
Because the boys are like become robots.
Yeah, they're so young. I talk to a number of people. I've got friends in the game and friends who's kids at at Chelsea, Liverpool, whatever. And you hear that. I suppose the last one, like Wayne was like that, wasn't he? Rooney had that about him. He had that sort of.
Wayne, when he burst on the scene with England, I remember. Do you remember that goal he scored in training?
Ridiculous! Just clapping hands with him, like
everybody stopped the sesh. Yeah, the best players in England. Everybody stopped the session, giving round of applause.
There's only two players in my career that stopped the training session.
Go on.
One was Wayne Rooney. The other was Eden Hazard. Right, the manager dropped him. Right. For Lille when I'm playing there, and I've never seen him angry because he's the nicest geezer. Same thing, he picked up the ball, scored the best goal I've ever seen in my life. Nobody goes in the stanchion and just stays there. Yeah. Guys are like, fucking the gaffer's like, better put him back in now. I can't believe I've dropped him.
But do you remember with Wayne? Everybody looked round like some alien had just popped up. Yeah. It was just like, what the hell?
What was the goal?
It was just some mad mate, because we used to do like these kind of small-sided games, and he was just like this. It was just technically it was like a Brazilian, but he had this like raw power of like he was just like a train.
He's a man child. Like I don't know what his mum and dad fed him in Liverpool, man. He was like, his neck was like the size of this table. I was thinking, who is this kid, man? I remember
he was unplayable.
I love him. So I was only 5 years older than him, but like he come onto the. I remember sitting on the. He was so cheeky. He come on the. I was standing up on the plane on the aisle, and he's going to me, "Get me this. Get me a bag of crisps."
What, when he was 18?
But it was his way of banter. I thought, I loved it. I was like, yeah. all right, Keys, you're a legend. There you go. Have some Chris, have a drink. I loved him. I absolutely loved him.
What was he like to play at United in that? I mean, that United team
amazing.
was.
I mean, you guys got to see Tevez. What a player! What a player! That guy is.
I'll put him up in my top 5 players.
Mate, 100%.
That season under Curbs.
But you think about that team we had, yeah,
mate. I mean,
no. So forget like you got Paul Scholes, one of the greatest football players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Kick a ball.
Yeah.
Ryan Giggs, you got. Then you got Ronaldo, yeah. He's turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
And at the top of the pitch, we had 2 absolute killers.
Yeah.
In Wayne Rooney and Tevez. Can you imagine, right? But the amount of pressure those 2 put on the ball, by the time it got into midfield, the job was a lot easier. Do you mean
so intense as
they're
to
the best team?
Yeah.
Which that for me is the best team I've played against from '99 till 2015. Whatever that was easily the best team. They're better than the Invincibles. Better than any other United teams.
You had Vidic and Ferdinand at the back.
So then you had Vida, who was an absolute machine.
Evra, arguably, between him and Ashley, I guess, best left back.
Pat was amazing, but then you had Rio, who was the talker, who was the leader, and who was like the culture one who come out. So like Vida and Rio were the perfect combination because one, even though Vida, you look at him play and you think, oh, he's like hard as nails, and he was, but he was quiet. He was pretty quiet. Whereas Reed did all the talking, didn't shut up. The whole session. Then you had 2 bowlers in midfield in Carrick and in Scholes, he was just running it. Yeah. Then you have power, you have pace. The cool thing about that United team we had, a bit like Chelsea really, whatever the game needed, we could give it to you.
Yeah.
So
Park.
G-Sung, and we had so many unsung heroes. G-Sung Park, Dan Fletcher, Wes Brown, John O'Shea. You had all these guys that pop up and give you 30 games, and when they played, you didn't miss a beat.
Was Fernandes at the time?
No,
it was just after.
Because I've played in title-winning sides where I've been played the most. Do you know what I mean? So been a big part of it. I've also played in the last title winning side. We won 2010. Was come back from injury, so I only played 25 games. But them players, you got a role to play. You know what I mean?
Really important.
Squad, you've got to do it. And probably after my knee injury 2010, that's probably all I could give a top side, 25, 30 games, because Owen had injuries like myself.
Yeah.
And then when it takes out your game, it's heartbreaking, but you got to adjust your game. Do you know what I mean?
But the cool thing about that team was we literally, whatever the game needed, so if it was possession, we'd give you that. If you play on the counter, we could give, like when we played Barca on the same foul, we could go on the counter because they were better in possession than us, and we respected that. Yeah. And then we picked them off. Or the team set pieces, anything we could give it. And the thing is now, you look at all the top teams, their identities are so structured that they're possession based. Well, you guys weren't that, were you?
No,
you guys could whatever it needed. And that's why you guys were so great because didn't matter what the ref did or the weather was or the opposition was.
To win the game.
You could just go out and just do your thing. And I think that United team, it was the best team I ever played on because we literally had every ingredient you needed.
It was incredible
to win a game.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
I've been with my wife now 45 years. We're childhood sweethearts. We've been together since we were 16 and 15.
Oh, come on, Joe. You're starting to make me cry now. What's up with you? Jeez,
Well, that's the intention, Alan, to make you all cry.
Check out the full video now to find out why Joe is Alan's next winner.
When you look at now, talking at how your City, your United side, your Chelsea side, and you look at, say, first of all, City, do you think, how would you go about beating them? United City, your United side versus this City side, would you fancy it?
They'd smash them. They would smash them.
But I think it's like Joe's team that, with you had Czech and you had JT and Carvalho and you had Essien and Makalele and Lamps and, and Drogba. Like, for them, those boys would relish that. A bit like us, You would, obviously, they'll probably have more of the ball, but when we get into the game, you're going to feel it, And I think the thing is now, these guys are so good. I mean, who would have thought we'd have a Champions League final, 2 teams playing without a centre forward, possibly?
I know.
I mean, that's crazy.
That's insane, that. When
you think about what, at the top of the pitch, you guys had Drogba, and then Nelka, we had Tevez and Rooney. Now, all of a sudden, you're playing games. It can't be a coincidence really that 2 teams that play so similar actually might not have a centre forward on the pitch in the game. So football's
the roles have changed now because you say without a centre forward, but I think you've actually got 3 sort of half, I call them half forwards, left forward, right forward, and false 9. But they're all up the pitch. They're just occupying a third of the attacking. Do you know what I mean? It's just the game's evolved, but there's no focal point. There's no Drogba.
You look at those. For me, anyway, I enjoy City as a team. Right? I enjoy the sort of fluid, and it pains me to say it as a West Ham fan. And but those Chelsea United teams, and those days of football just felt that, as you say, that it just felt like an intensity that was there a bit more. Like that maybe has gone a little bit from it. I suppose it's what Liverpool were doing, right, up until they've had the injuries.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting to that gap, who do you when you look at the two teams, who do you fancy the most? Owen?
Well, it's City. I mean, it's City, really. If they play like they can do, and I think they're hard to play against because Pep is he's crazy. Pep, like he's so good that they were like what 9th in December.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you thought,
Insane,
right, forget it. People saying, he can't keep doing it, can't keep playing this possession stuff. He didn't go away from it. He actually just strengthened it. He thought, right, I'll get Cancelo to get in midfield. I'll get Bernardo Silva to drop off. So I'll have about 6 number 10s out there.
Yeah.
I might not have a centre forward, but I got 6 guys who get me 10 goals, 10 assists. And good luck trying to play against that because the boys basically, like Joe, imagine there was 6 Joe Coles out there.
Yeah.
As much as Joe wants the ball, but if they key up on somebody else, that might free Joe up. So Joe might not have the game. I mean, you see with them, sometimes it's Mahrez, sometimes it's Phil Foden, sometimes it's De Bruyne, sometimes it's Gundogan. So you might take 1 or 2 out of the equation, but the other boys pop up. For Chelsea, they need Mason to be absolutely like he is. But the problem is if Mason, quiet him down, is Kai going to produce the goods? Yeah, he can. Yeah. Timo can, but they're not as consistent. Whereas I think City got about 5 or 6 guys that can do the business for you. For Chelsea, they rely so heavily on Mason to get them out of trouble.
I mean, for me though, if there's one team that just feels like they've got, watching them in the league, that game in the league, me and you talked about it, it feels that intensity. I don't know whether that last game of the season, confidence is obviously a massive thing with anything in it, in football. Like you think City looks incredible in that last game of the season, but do you think there, where you look at Chelsea now, I mean, you said, Fabe, you really fancy them, or?
The league don't lie, Tom, right? So we have to accept Man City are the best team, and you're right, since they was 9th in December and Pep's tweaked something and they've just looked like a almost unbeatable machine. There is a way for Chelsea to beat them, but they have to execute it unbelievably well. Now, I watched the final, or I did the final against Leicester. Now, there's a problem. We're gonna allude to it when we do the show before the game. Chelsea, there's found a little chink in Chelsea's armour because what he does is with the outside centre halves, he allows them to it's like almost man to man. Like so, Rudiger, for instance, will pick up whether it be a Mahrez or a Foden, whoever comes in, and he'll go in with them. Yeah. So most defensive units say, right, you go with them. Once they go too deep, then you stop and you get back in your slot so you can't. But Chelsea don't. Chelsea, and they shut us.
And Pep would have looked at that video.
And Pep would have looked at that. And I think he would have gone, right, this is why I'm thinking maybe even a Sterling or Jesus will play because you have to run into this space. Otherwise, Chelsea will be able to just suffocate Man City and break on them. And the reason Owen's right, Werner and Havertz can do it. Werner's actually all wrong for this Man City team because if you drop off against Chelsea, Werner's not going to have the quality to really hurt you. And his finishing's not top level. But if you give him space, after Haaland, I think there's not a striker in the world.
Well, the reason he's still playing is because he's giving the team a lot, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, people don't like Pep is obviously everyone sees in the football and stuff. But I remember I think it was Patrice Evra telling me a story about when they were the French national team once. Barca played Arsenal at the Emirates, and they all sat around the French national team, and I think Pat said, no, I think Thierry said, the tactic was on you in the game. It was Gaël Clichy. And so Gaël said, what do you mean tactic was on me? He said, you were the outball for us.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And he thought, how's that? Because Gaël was one of the most honest fullbacks you've ever seen. Yeah. What did Gaël used to do? He used to get to you quick. So when the ball used to switch plays. So Pep watched all these videos and he said, what we did, we just kept the ball on the other side with the left back and we get a big switch in the middle of the pitch out to Dani Alves. And what did we know? Because Gaël was such an honest pro, bang, straight out to him. What happens if he gets out the back four and he gets to Dani Alves?
Space,
Centre backs come over. And that was the outball. That was the trigger. So then basically, once Gaël went out, the central midfield players flooded in. And basically, so Gaël said he went back to watch the game and he played in it. He didn't even know what happened. And he watched it back and he went, shit.
Wow.
And that's Pep. So if they're doing what Joe just said there, like them two centre backs are popping up and leaving little gaps, you just say to him, You see that De Bruyne did it against PSG, didn't they?
Yeah.
You just run forward.
Yeah.
Run forward. And that's the level of detail that these guys bring, which I don't think in our era.
No, it wasn't.
That detail wasn't there like that.
Yeah, how does that work in training when you're prepping for a big game like that? And like, will Pep now be playing that with, obviously he's going to be playing, would he be playing his first team as he sees them up against, and would he be looking at that Chelsea, recreating that Chelsea back three, the movement of that Chelsea? Is that how it worked?
Yeah. I think I think this game, I think both managers will have a good understanding of what the other one will do, because it's all of them. They both are very tactical. They both prepare their teams. All of them players have got agents.
Yeah.
They've all got, they'll also tell their agent, what are you doing? You know what it's like.
Yeah.
The agent will try and do the other team a favour, give them the team. The other agent will give the other manager the team.
Is that how it works?
I think so. I think it works like that. Do you know what I mean? Because
you like to think you keep everything in house.
You like to think you keep everything in their house.
Oh, really?
Look, you know how it is. People just love to talk, don't they? You know, when you got something on your chest, you just want to tell people. You like, you want to get it out of there.
People are unscrupulous, especially agents. And if it gives them a little bit of favour with a manager, they'll do it. Of course they will.
I just wonder, because they know each other so well, and I think we all could just pick who's going to play. I just wonder if somebody's going to try and surprise someone.
Does it feel like Pep is the guy with that surprise up his sleeve? Like, for me, it's like...
Do you know what I would do, right? If I'm Pep, I wouldn't do no preparation for the game.
Really?
No, I would just... Because he's got himself in trouble a few times in Champions League. The reason he's got a bit tricky. Do you remember the Lyon game they lost?
Yeah.
The Spurs game where he changed it up.
Yeah.
I think these players, just trust your players. If you're Pep, trust your players. Just almost say to them, look, guys, we're here. This is where Chelsea are.
Well, the thing is, you don't need to tweak it as much, Joe, anymore, because he's got the best defence in the league.
Exactly.
The defence is incredible.
So all of a sudden, who would have ever said a Pep Guardiola team would have the best defence in the league? So all of a sudden now he's got that. Plus he's got Ederson, who's he's like a number 10 playing goalkeeper. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So whatever, if you go and press them, he just hits you a 70-yard over the top.
Yeah.
Onto a plate. So I think now with Diaz, crazy what that guy's done to that team.
For me, player of the season, I think he's just an incredible...
As a foreign player to come over at 23 years old.
Yeah.
People don't realise.
Defender.
Kid.
As well, yeah.
Centre back, but 23
years old. That's...
To come into that team as well for him, and to the credit of Diaz, but not just for him, it feels like and we'll move on to the England team in a minute, but it feels like him being next to John Stones has just made John, I know it's like whether it's given John the confidence or whatever he's done, it feels like Stones now has just gone, right, this is a guy I've got to step up to this fella's level.
But you get that as a player because, something like, you get these little sections in a team. Joe knows, we played a lot of different positions, but when you play in central midfield, you're like a pair. When you play as a winger, it's kind of you obviously with the centre, but you and the fullback. Because you need to protect him, and he needs to sometimes help you. So I think all of a sudden with John, all of a sudden now he's got somebody in Diaz that, Batman and Robin, it just works. And everybody who ever played with Vincent Kompany had that, because Vinny was that guy. But then maybe when you get two guys, a bit like John Stones, that are maybe a bit more quiet or whatever. It doesn't really work. I know. I mean, who would you say was your favourite guy you played with? Who you always knew.
Okay,
he's got my back.
Yeah, I love playing with Paulo Ferreira at Chelsea. He was because the way I played was very, very free. Paulo was the opposite of me. Paulo was the steady guy. He was
coach's dream. Just did what the coach said.
I knew where he was going to be. I didn't know where I was going to be, but I knew where Paulo was going to be, so I could work off that. Do you know what I mean? And he was so giving in that he weren't interested in
him.
He just bang, you get it, turn, bang, I help you.
Go do your thing, Joe.
Underrated player.
For you, who's yours?
I mean, the cool thing was when you play in a big team, they're all good. They're just all different. So when I played with Effenberg as a kid, he was just
fucking hell, man. When you say Stefan Effenberg,
big dude, proper
player.
personality. Sometimes when the game was hectic, you remember he did it at Old Trafford once. All the United boys spoke to me about it with England once, but game got super hectic, and just as a confidence thing, just to show everybody who was in charge, he could just put his foot on the ball, just stud ball, and just stop. Just as lads, I'll let you know who's in control there. And remember, the games are hectic, aren't they? So he had this authority, and then you play with guys like, Gerrard or Lampard or Paul Scholes, they're all different. So it's really kind of, you see what they're giving, and then you kind of work off the back of that. When you get guys like Stevie G that can give you everything, it makes it easy because, you don't have to worry about he's not going to come back. You play with some guys, you think, it's going to be we got too many attackers in here, it's going to be a long day, because if we lose the ball, we're going to be in trouble. Whereas if you get the players back in the day, like Frank and Stevie, they could do everything, couldn't they? So you never really had to. Whereas some days you used to look across the pitch and think, whew.
Yeah, I'm in trouble,
it could be a long day.
I mean, getting into that, because talk about like what really happened, which is, us going through a sort of scenario that we've got interested in, and this is for both of you. 2006 World Cup. For me, that 2006 side felt the side the closest that golden generation was going to come to fulfilling something. Do you know what I mean? It felt really, and I think you were a massive part of that, Owen. I think like you for me, like you obviously, Joe, I'd say probably looking at being, you were phenomenal, weren't you? It was like you were at the top of your game. It felt like you were playing freely, but it felt like Owen gave something to that sort of dilemma of Frank and Stephen. Do you know what I mean? And the ability to sort of just hold the ball. But what's your memories of that tournament for the both of you?
I just remember training being like off the charts good.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes so good that there's not even a question we're going to win this.
Yeah.
It's that by how many.
Yeah.
But we almost had too many great players in the team. We had a lot of cooks in the kitchen. People always forget when you're in a show. No, when you're playing a game, there's two teams. There's one ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you got all these world class players, which we had, when we got the ball, great. But when we didn't have it, didn't we? We used to get popped off the park by a lot of teams, not even great teams, because basically our guys were unbelievable. When they had the ball, but sometimes you got to get it back too. Yeah. And it was about having that blend. You look at all the teams. You need guys that are there for the balance of it. Them great Chelsea teams.
Yeah.
How many of those guys did you have in there? Whether your SENs or your Makaleles or. Whereas sometimes I think football, we try and create this fantasy football where we go, let's get the biggest name on there, and then, and that's, but then it's hard to put it together, And I think for the coaches, you can see how they do that, but in a way, you got to kind of think about best case and worst case scenario, and I think that's where football was different though, because you played 4-4-2, didn't you?
Yeah.
And we tried to get everybody into one team, but we just had. I thought we had too many beautiful players, too many. I mean, we probably would have picked them ourselves, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's hard. Like, he's right. It was, tactically, we was...
Scholesy couldn't even get in the team because Frank and Stevie were playing centre mid. Scholesy was playing on left.
And
Paul Scholes is like...
How many caps did you get?
Don't remember. I think 39,
but for a
40.
lot of them, for a lot of them, you was playing on the left of a four. Now, anyone who's seen Owen Hargreaves play, he's like the holding midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. It is, well, he's in a Bayern Munich team.
Exactly. Amazing on the ball.
Yeah.
Amazing on the ball. Fast. Shuts people down. Breaks up play.
That was the first time we felt like we had that player, because that's the thing I think we struggle. I mean, it was. What's your memories of that Portugal game?
My memory of the Portugal game, we were talking about earlier, is the fact that obviously Wayne gets sent off, and I was the one to get taken off. And at that point,
which was insane.
You know what?
At that point in the game,
that's ridiculous. I didn't even remember that you went off there.
Yeah.
I didn't realise because Wazza went.
Yeah, straight away. Well, listen, it's understandable, but that, again, and I love Sven. He gives me all of my caps, more or less. You know what I mean? So he's a great guy, but we were just so backwards tactically. And when I say tactically, I think the way English football was, and Owen, coming from Germany, Owen would have been schooled in. There was a lot more tactical than we were. You know what I mean?
That Champions League final we won at Bayern in 2001, we played a back three with wing backs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking. Yeah. People are talking about now. You got wing backs, some modern thing, and we're talking 2001, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so that game in particular, I remember just thinking, right, I've got Miguel now. I've got him. I was sort of playing well. I thought, right, I've got him. Then Wazza gets sent off, and I'm like, I knew it. You look at it, I know I'm going to get.
Did you know it was going to be you?
Because it's always going to be. Because it's always going to be the. That was just how football was back then. Which I understood it, but we should never have been in that situation, because you had like you said, we had players playing who wasn't 100% fit.
Yeah.
When you could have gone, right, you could have gone Carrick, Owen into the centre of the park. You could have had Bex was injured. You could have had Frank Stevie, me, off of Wazza.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As a freebie under one, you could have had a 2 up, you could have played a diamond, but no, 4-4-2, 4-4-2.
No, but you could have had Scholesy, Frank, Stevie, Wazza, Michael Owen, other. You know, like, can you imagine the options that you could have? You know, Rio and JT, Ledley King. You know, like.
I mean, Ledley,
Ash and Gary, like you literally had every.
But also, you've had that
ingredient.
ability to change it up because what happened and like for me as a fan, what happened in that game against Portugal is, I think, you know, and this might be biased because we're pals and you were, you know, a West Ham icon, but that was the best of Joe Cole, I think, in that tournament. I think the Sweden goal. It felt like you were playing with real confidence. You were going at people. And that felt the most frustrating thing as an England fan to go. And I love Crouchy, and I think Crouchy actually could bring something different to the team. But essentially, if you're playing Crouchy, you're going to need people to be pinging balls in for him. And he can hold up the ball, but then you need people coming off him, right? And then you're taking off the most creative player, and you're putting on a guy who's not going to just create something out of nothing. And that's what that needed at the time. Who were you more angry with at that time, Sven, or were you angry? How's it like?
I was angry, yeah. I was angry. I remember when I was angry with life. We just got knocked
out
out
of
of
the anger to Sven, though?
Nah.
No, be like, for me.
Do I have anger towards it? At the time, probably.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, that moment, I've been lucky enough to win trophies and lose trophies. And to have that mindset, we just go, right, it wasn't meant to be walk on. It's your life journey. Who knows where road will take us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might get into coaching and management and be on that touchline in Sven's shoes at some point and have to make that decision. And then I will go back to my knowledge of playing, and I'm sure that will affect what I do at that time. So I'm quite philosophical about it as you come back. But at the time, I was hugely frustrated because I'm like you. I think we had a great chance in 2006. I know Owen says as well, but we wasn't meant to be.
You think back, like, you know, as players, it's like the biggest thing for you to be able to walk out.
Yeah.
And then all our families are there. You know, they come over and they were there. And I remember, I got stick for even being in the squad.
Yeah,
I remember I got booed out for being in the squad.
We need to forget, like, Owen took so much stick playing for England unfairly before that tournament.
Before that tournament. But I think after it was like this guy's...
No, exactly. So I got... And I didn't even realise...
You were playing the tournament then?
I remember I came home from... Because I was in Germany at the time, and I was out in London somewhere, and I remember somebody just gave me the middle finger.
What?
Walking down the road, and I was like, what? I just won the double at Bayern and got man of the match in the cup final. Like, what's all the stress about?
Yeah.
But I'd never forget, my family was there at the game, and I come on against Trinidad, was it? And some people started booing, and my family was sitting there.
Wow.
And all the families are there. And,
people don't realise that.
And you know, all the families hung out together. The boys were together, but the families were together. And Frank Lampard's mum come over to my mum and put her arm around her and said, "Don't worry, it happened to Frank and stuff. We've been there, you know." So we you know, we support him and we're a team and all that. I didn't even realise. My mum told me this
that's amazing.
My mum told me this like a month ago. And then I played the last game. We got knocked out. And I had a decent game because I had to sit down with all the Sundays.
Well, you were a player of the tour. I think you were a player of the tournament.
But think about this, right?
You were incredible.
I just won the double at Bayern. I got booed for being in the squad. So Adrian Bevington at the time, who was head of the media, I had to have a sit down with all the Sunday papers at the Lowry Hotel, 10 of them, and they basically asked, "What the f*** are you doing in the squad?"
Wow.
Yeah.
And I said, "Look."
Did that drive you on, Owen? Did that make you more like determined to go? Look, you're gonna fucking see, mate.
So I said, "Look, fellas, you're obviously pretty good at your job. That's why you're here. But you're obviously not that good, because you wouldn't ask me that question.
Yeah.
You ain't done your homework. Because if you did your homework, if you watched me play, you would never say that."
Yeah.
And all these guys sat in the room, and Adrian was like, "Oh my God, calm down." And I was thinking, nah, you know. I said, so for me, at the end of it, I played. My dad told me, leave everything out there. That's just how you play. Yeah. Leave everything out there. So that's how I played. I didn't play for anyone else. I played because my family's name is on my shirt. That's my dad's name. Yeah. Ultimately, Obviously, it's, you know, whether I'm playing for England or Man United or Bayern, but ultimately, you represent yourself and your family, aren't you? So after that game. Well, and I didn't want any, you know, that people said I played well. That's just how I played. And Sven, that's why he played me, because he knew I'd give him that. Yeah. And I remember I walked through the mix zone after we got knocked out, and all those guys that basically told me I shouldn't have been there, they all give me a round of applause. Yeah. Wow. But I said to them, "Look, lads, I don't play for you. I don't need your, you know," because I remember my dad at the time, somebody must have sent him a clip. And funny enough, the job we do now as pundits, somebody was caning me, won't name names. But I work with him now. Really? Yeah. I never told him, but basically that kind of started the agenda a little bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of people don't see. And then because I was born in Canada and I played in Germany, people didn't really know yet. And then when somebody, obviously, because the boys don't really watch every game, do they?
No.
And he didn't really know. So he said, what's he doing in the squad? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of carried over, so really I never really got the opportunity to start games. That was the first time I got to start and I got to play. Because when you come on at England at times for like 10 or 15 minutes, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's hard to...
It's easy for a player like me, because I some of my early caps, coming off the bench for 15, 20 minutes and I'd make a goal or score a goal and that's it, job's done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, you started the game, your name's on the back page the next day. But for Owen, it's more difficult for 15, 20 minutes because he's a cog in the wheel player, isn't he? You have to, like he's saying, you're the heartbeat of the team.
Yeah.
So for Owen to play well, we need that 90 minutes of consistency.
Hey, Joe, it's so funny, right? Because Sven, he picked me, and after that, he must have known I could give him that.
Yeah.
So that's why he picked me. And I remember I lived in Germany at the time, so I just got in my car and drove home, right? All the boys got back, on the coach. So I said goodbye at the hotel. Yeah. And as they're leaving, getting on the coach, she's waving goodbye, whatever, Sven calls me over. He said, I just want to say thanks, for giving it everything and stuff. And I said, yeah, cool, that's just how I play. And he said, look, just give you a heads up, because in Spain, they had all those elections and stuff, and whoever got in, they would be the coach. He said, look, I might get the Real Madrid job, so if I get it, he said, I'm going to try and bring you with me. Yeah, right? Wow. So I was thinking, yeah, cool, whatever, right? I was still at Bayern at the time. And then Sven obviously went to City, I went to United. And then when I left United, I think because of my knee injury and stuff, I couldn't really play. I was out of contract. Sven rings me. I forgot where he was at the time. He said, look, Owen, do you want to come where I'm at? And I was thinking, Sven, remember last time you rang me, you said you were going to take me on Real Madrid? I said, I think our share price has fallen a little bit since then. And he just laughed, I was like, well, it's funny.
What do you both remember of the infamous, the Ronaldo Wink? Did you see it? Did you clock it on the pitch?
No, I didn't even clock it, no.
I think that's one for the media, isn't it? That's like, do you know what I mean? That's just...
Because
those things happen in
But because he was at United at the time, he'd have been close with...
Carvalho was at Chelsea, wasn't he, at the time? So he's... so it was all a bit, again, you're friends.
You had Ferreira,
I'm mates with Ricky. I rented my house to Ricky, in so he was a good friend of mine. It's a fucking nightmare as a tenant.
Yeah.
I love Ricky, I love him, but he got me round there one day. Oh God, this is not working. That's not working. He showed me he showed me the top of the cooker and he had dust on it. I went, what do you want me to clean your house for you as well? Love Ricky, I love Ricky, I love him. But so he's our friend. Owen's playing with Ronnie after the tournament. These things happen on the pitch.
Yeah, of course.
It was being blown up by the media.
Yeah.
But what was it between Wayne and Ronaldo after? Is it that just left and it's like...
The boys are like, and that's what everybody, and that's the problem with journalists and stuff. They look at everything so black and white, like, that's... When you're in there and you've worked your whole life from him as a young kid chasing a ball in the streets to be in a game like that, what it means to you, for people that have never been there playing at that level and, the emotion and the tension and all that, it comes out. And sometimes... shit happens and people do stuff they probably regret. But I'm sure Cristiano, if he could look back, he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But there's also, we all have, like Joe, Wazza was cheeky. Joe was cheeky. We all have a bit of cheekiness. Otherwise, we would never made it, So I think we can all, when we see something like that, we can all kind of understand that could have been us too. Do you know what I mean?
But it means a lot to Ronaldo. In the same thing of like, if we're watching that game and in that situation it's Joe Cole giving someone a wink, or Gaza was the guy for that. We completely love that person for it because I guess that's just Ronaldo playing for Portugal. We all know how proud he is to go out there and play for them, and how that was a really intense game. I mean, I think it's just and to finish on it, I think that was as an England fan, I think and I'd always liked my European football. I'd sort of known a bit about you as a player, and I think for a long time thought this guy can do a job here. And I remember sitting in a pub, and I remember getting rinsed from my pals who were all just... My family used to have like fights in pubs because they'd be watching the game and other people would be booing and my family going, hey, Oh mate, I was like saying that this guy, and I was, you're a off mate, he's Canadian, he's playing for England, and I remember you nailing that game, and at the end of it people just go, no,
but you know what?
We'll win stuff from now if he's in the team. They're obsessed, and that was the sort of thing that...
I remember we had a game at Old Trafford, against Greece, I think it was, the first game after that walk, and I played in central midfield. Anyway, I was in after the game. I was with my family in the lounge, and this guy came up, and he said, the guys come on, just want to chat, or whatever. He said, "Oh, and I just want to say thanks." I said, "Thanks for what?" He said, "For playing the way you did." He said it made me cry. He said it made me cry that how much you put into this country, knowing that you're not even born here.
Yeah.
And this grown man in front of my family started to cry.
Yeah. That's how much it means.
And I swear to you, I thought, man, that is unbelievable that you can. And I didn't play like that to get that. But then people experience that feeling kind of watching you play. You don't realize how privileged we are to be able to represent so many people.
If I was a manager of England, I mean, I'll be relaying that story to the lads because tactically they're going to be prepared well.
Yeah.
Mentally, they're all young, they're all in a good place. They just need to get into their heads how great they can be and how much love they will the country for the rest of their lives if they do it this time. Do you know what I mean? They need that relayed to them in a way. There's people
that's
out
a good point, because to this day, like you said, people I don't know, they come up to you and go, "Oh, I remember that game. You played again." But to this day, I mean, we're talking...
Yeah. We should like you with a goal against Sweden, right?
Exactly. That's 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So people... you can play... I had this conversation with loads of the boys who played 500 games, scored hundreds of goals. Yeah. How many games do people remember you by?
Yeah, moments,
yeah?
Yeah.
So give our fans some moments this summer.
Mate,
go and grab it with two hands so that everyone goes, "Hey, remember Mason Mount when he did that thing? Remember...
You talked to Jamie about it in '96.
Yeah.
That game against Scotland, and you think all that, him running up the dentist chair with Gazza, no bigger memory.
Yeah, you're right. You remember that.
And those, and you do remember those. Becks against Greece. Do you know what I mean?
Michael Owen against Argentina.
Stop. I'm going to start crying. Right. We need to get on to just predictions for the Champions League final. So,
hold on, how did we go last week?
Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Mate. Sorry, just messing your flow up.
So, Champions League predictions. Odds from Coral. Man City is 2-5. Chelsea 7-2. Go to extra time is 9-4. Chelsea 7-2. That is
juicy from Coral.
That's
well done, Coral.
Well done, Coral. Because that ain't a bad bet, right? Okay, here we go. Predictions. You've brought the prediction title. You won it. Okay,
thank you, mate. That was not a procession. No. You're talking about Owen about his Champions Leagues and all that. I've won the all to play for predictions drive. I want some love for that.
You won it well.
Where's the trophy? You want something? Something to hold?
Here we go. You get a dirty old cup. There's no end to budget on this show. We both got 2 out of 4 right. So Liverpool beating Palace, West Ham to beat Southampton. We went the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know what, the one I sort of just wish I'd gone with Spurs. It was in the back of my head.
Looking back here now.
Yeah. That was the one. But do you want to go now? Right. We go for broke. And we just put it all on the line.
Coming in.
Right.
I'm happy.
We got to get the correct score for the Champions League final.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to throw you. You getting this as well, Owen?
Champ goes first. He's the reigning champ. So.
Okay. I'm going to go 1-1 full time.
Right. Oh, he's going very concise.
And I'm going last moments of extra time. Chelsea on the break. Man City have dominated possession. Tino Werner goes and sticks it in. 2-1 Chelsea.
That's detailed. That
is
after
detailed.
Extra time, that's
after
real.
extra time.
Imagine that happens.
What price we got for that?
What price is it?
I think these games are a lot tighter than
Yeah.
They're always cagey, aren't they? Yeah. Always cagey. Like you said, that one we did was we just cancelled each other out. And when it gets to like late in the game, people think, right, let's just get to pens, get it over with. You know what I mean? But I think City just feels like fate for them. Feels like it's their destiny. As good as Pep is, and he hasn't won one of these for a long time. He'll want to mark this occasion. I think, like Joe said, I don't think he'll tinker with it this time round. With the defence he has and the goalkeeper, I think you can pretty much guarantee his team, who's going to play. And I think it's Phil Foden. I think he's had such an amazing season. I think Phil's he did it against Dortmund, when they needed something special. He rose to the occasion. Since then, he's been probably their best player. And I think Phil is one of them. He's got that courage a bit like Joe as a kid, Yeah. He's a bit like you, isn't he? Gets on the ball and he makes it happen. And I just feel like for him, he's got that, you burst onto Wayne Rooney, they had no fear. I think Phil plays without that.
Yeah.
And he embraced this occasion, whereas I think some of the older players, they're a bit fearful of it going pear-shaped,
Yeah.
Whereas the young ones are like, go on, give me this platform.
It's his platform, yeah.
What are you thinking then, score?
I think City 2-1.
See, I've
Phil and Riyadh score, and I think Kai Havertz pops up with a beauty.
wow.
Decent.
I've had a little think about this. I think it's retribution time for City.
Gia. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, I always go for this. I'm always with Coral. I always like over 2.5 goals. I think there's something about me. I think City are going to put on display.
Display.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I
going
think
to.
that's probably the safe money.
I'd probably go. I think Chelsea will score. I think that, but I think maybe 3-4. You know what? I'm going to fuck it. I'm going to go 4-1. I'm going to go all for break, and I think it'll be a masterclass. I think De Bruyne, and I will tell you now. I just have. I've had a feeling. As much as I had a little bet on him coming off the bench, and I think Aguero comes
Serge.
in. Yeah, Serge says goodbye with a goal in the.
Could you imagine that? What a great guy he is.
What a legend.
Lads love him. Love him.
What a career.
What a player. I mean,
So that's 45-1 for me. What's Owen's?
Hold on, what was mine?
So 45-1 for me with Coral.
well, I bet because Serge will be on the bench.
14-1 for you to win in extra time.
Okay.
And what's Owen's at 2-1? 8-1. That's just 2-1.
Good guess.
With 2, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's big things. It's big things,
Big, mate. Big.
mate. Well, it's going to get spicy. But I will be texting you throughout it. So.
Text me throughout, mate. During the day, I'll be probably on a sunbed.
Yeah.
Working hard, preparing for the broadcast.
You'll be so. I mean, you look absolutely drippy today. But put a tan on this guy. He's coming back looking luscious. My guy. Thank you so much, Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah,
been
thanks.
great.
Thanks,
What a
guys.
way
Really
to sign up. Great chatting to you, man.
Pleasure to be here with you guys. It was fun.
I've enjoyed it, JC. What a journey, my brother. Thank you so much for listening to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. We're out.
You've been watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.